is the Vintage RPG Podcast, your source for the best in classic and contemporary RPGs. With your hosts, Hambone and Stu.
Welcome to the RPG Podcast, coming at you again from the clubhouse hidden somewhere in the swamps of New Jersey. I'm John Hambone McGuire, and with me, as always, is the founder and publisher of Unwinnable. He kind of sprung this topic on me, like, right before I hit record, and it's so oddly existential. I've got nothing today. Stu Horvath.
Hey, it's perfect. It comes out of left field. That's the core of the absurdity of what we're going to talk about today.
Oh, I could have made a desk calendar joke. All right, but go on.
Yeah. So the other day I blew a hole in one of the two pairs of jeans that I wear in the knee. And I was just like, well, that's cool in the summer, but in the winter I can't just have one pair of jeans.
Yeah.
So I was just like, let me go shopping. And I bought a new pair of jeans. So now I have like two pairs of jeans, like a normal human being. But as I was shopping around, I saw that they had brown corduroys for sale. And I was just like, heck yeah.
Wow. Look at that in the year of 2025.
Right? So I was just like, oh man, brown corduroys. And it's just like, and it was right before Trunk or Treat, which I'm going to assume that at least one person out there who listens to us doesn't have kids. Trunk or Treat is a school event, but it could be kind of any kind of, basically the idea is you fill a parking lot with cars that are decorated for Halloween, and the kids kind of go crazy going from car to car over and over and over again until all the candy's gone. And it's sort of like an alternative or supplement to their regular trick-or-treating.
Yeah, it's like the safest way to like have your kid go trick-or-treating. Like you're not checking candy afterwards, you're diving right in.
Yeah, because it all filters through like whoever's running the event, so it's all safe and then you don't have to worry about crossing streets and stuff. It's cool. I don't think I personally don't think it's a real replacement for trick or treating, but we do it. And
yeah,
the kids have a good time. But so I ordered these brown corduroys the same day that Trunk or Treat was going to happen, and I was just thinking like, oh, Jer definitely had a pair of corduroys at some point, and Jer goes to the same elementary school that me and my mom went to. So like,
that's
I was
awesome.
Like, so Jared's I'm gonna be wearing brown corduroy in the playground at this thing, and in where my son has worn corduroy, and where like generations of my family have worn corduroy going back, and I was just like thinking about place and time of brown corduroy.
It really is specific.
And around the same time in the Discord, folks were talking about the Far Side comic, and I was just like, oh man, I haven't thought about the Far Side since it wrapped up in whatever 94. I know that there's been new stuff since, but I haven't engaged with it. So I was just like, immediately was just like, well, I wonder what, like, I know they did a treasury a while back. Let me see if I can get the complete Far Side, and I got it. It's we'll talk about that in a second. But I remarked to my friend Oren, I was like, I just bought a pair of brown corduroys and the complete Far Side, and I feel like my metamorphosis into like the Avatar of the 80s is like it's almost complete, unintentionally. Really, it's not like I'm just like, oh, the 80s were the best thing ever. It's just, but I'm naturally drawn to this aesthetic, I guess. So it's just like, just picture me in your head lounging around in a nice old armchair in brown corduroys reading the Far Side all the time.
And I can never imagine you moving fast enough to make that sound that the corduroys make when they rub together. I just checked on the Google, and it says the last Far Side was January 1st, 1995.
There you go. And I think the first was January 1st, 1980. So a 15-year run.
Which, for like syndicated comics, is amazing. That's, yeah. I mean, maybe not compared to something like, say, like a Beetle Bailey or a Family Circus, but, how many syndicated comics have we seen come and go over the years in between Beetle Bailey and the Family Circus? Yep, January 1st, 1980.
The Far Side's interesting. I really have not engaged with it since it stopped being in the paper, but I do remember loving it. And the conversation that sparked this, somebody posted Cow Tools in the Discord. I think it was Clay. And shout out to Clay. And
Clay.
And every time I see Cow Tools, I laugh, because I remember Cow Tools was published in 82. And for those of you who don't know Cow Tools, it's probably one of the most contentious Far Side cartoons. It's a cow standing upright in front of it, behind a table in front of a barn. And there's these crudely formed tools, and it's captioned "cow tools." One of the tools looks very much like a child's drawing of what a saw would be, and the others are just like you can't really figure out what they are. And it came out in 1982, and that means I was 4. But I remember, and I don't know if maybe somebody put it up on the bulletin board at my grandfather's trucking company, and it was always there, but it was a periodic topic of conversation where like I would express, or somebody would express that like The Far Side was great, and then other people in my family would express that they hated The Far Side. It was stupid and didn't make any sense because they were still angry about cow tools not making sense. I always just thought it was just like, oh yeah, like if cows made tools, they'd be bad because they're cows. They don't have thumbs. And that's basically the joke. And Gary Larsen thought that was hilarious. He had watched like a documentary on crows using tools and he was just like, what if we discovered that cows made tools? What would
amazing.
they be like? And it's dumb. And like that's it. That's all there is to it. But like there was a whole group of my family that was just hated and remained angry about cow tools for a disproportionately long number of years. And I think that that's hilarious. But it speaks to something about The Far Side that I think is interesting. It's either you get it and you're on that wavelength or you don't, and it makes you angry.
Well, I mean, that's the thing though. Like when we were kids, The Far Side, it was like when you talk about humor, right? You talk about like, dick and fart jokes are very much first thought humor, right? Yeah. And then you got something that goes like a little deeper. That's like second thought humor. Like The Far Side was like maybe fourth thought humor. Like it's very like you got to think about it for a second. It's got to stew. It's got to go through the layers before you're like, oh, that's actually hilarious. And for like a little kid, like my brain doesn't work like that. I'm not thinking that fast, Also, I don't know what existential is. I'm a child.
Yeah, so many of them, even as like a 47-year-old guy who's like pretty well read and cultured and whatever, like I have to pause at a lot of them and be like, what's the joke here? What's he trying to do? He often presents images that you just read very quickly. It's a single panel comic. I don't know if people don't know what The Far Side is at this point in time. Sometimes they're captioned, sometimes they're not. And very often the thing that he's depicting is an image that you recognize as something mundane or just basically recognizable, so that if you glance at it and glance away, you might not see the joke. I just saw one recently flipping through right before we started where it's 2 knights jousting, and it's really it's a fine little noodle of a sketch of 2 knights going at each other. And I looked at it, I was just like, oh, 2 knights jousting. I was like, but wait, what's the joke? And I had to go back to it and looked at it, and I was like, oh, the guy in the distance. So he's like, it's sort of like at a cocked angle. So like you have one knight who's taking up the lower right 2/3 of the frame because he's just like, and you're looking sort of over his shoulder. He's huge. And then there's another little knight in the background, upper left, zooming, along the jousting fence. So he's really small. And if you look closely, he's got his hands over his eyes. And that's funny. It's also dumb.
It's so dumb. It's like...
but it's the whole package. It's the fact that like the joke is buried. It's in the farthest part of the panel, and like you have to work to get it. The whole thing makes it like funnier than it probably should be. Somebody has described The Far Side as a comic strip with an audience of one, being Gary Larsen, the creator of The Far Side. Like he was really making this as a weird daily diary of some sort that only he could truly parse. And every once in a while it would line up with weirdos outside his brain.
I mean, it lined up enough that it got a 15-year syndication run.
Yeah, no, I mean, and people get it, but it's a specific type. It's interesting. There's one of the things in the Treasury, which I'll talk about in a second, is a letter that's reproduced from a salesperson. So get this, like this is just like a glimpse into another world. The syndicate wants to publish The Far Side, so they have a salesperson going from newsroom to newsroom, pitching people on the Far Side. They have a portfolio, I assume, and they're showing it to editors, and editors are looking at it and reacting. This salesman is in the desert in Arizona in a motel room, and he writes a letter on a typewriter, on a portable typewriter. And he's just giving his impression of like the reaction and how fun he thinks that the reaction, he's like, editors for newspapers are pretty measured people who don't give you big reactions. And he's like, the reactions that I'm getting are either they're like, this is insane and stupid and should be burned, or like, this is hilariously funny. There's no real middle ground. And he's just chronicling this. And he's just like, maybe we should collect these reactions and use that to sell the thing as like a controversial comic strip. And it's interesting in that way, but just like imagine a world in which there's traveling syndicated comic salesmen in motels across the country typing out on, missives to their boss on a portable typewriter. Like, it's just,
I mean, as a traveling blender salesman, I can tell you, I've seen a lot of weird shit being sold door to door, and for those listening at home, we may not get syndication. With newspapers, these comics would be in every newspaper across the country. So that's essentially what syndication meant. You'd have some regional stuff, sure, but by and large, if I was reading Prince Valiant on the East Coast in New Jersey, you were probably reading the same Prince Valiant down in New Orleans.
Yeah, and there were different syndicates that rep different cartoons, and sort of editors would decide what was right for their market. They would pick and choose and put together their comic section, which is kind of cool when you think about it.
It's pretty neat, man. Yeah.
Just like a wild world. It probably is completely different, and it's probably been like wrecked by like capitalism. But like there was a moment in time where like, it produced The Far Side. It supported Peanuts for so many decades. Calvin and Hobbes came out of the syndicate system, and like
Bloom County, Doonesbury,
and
Beetle Bailey, Hagar.
Right. And there's probably like people on the inside probably think it stinks, and there's probably issues with it. But from the outside, they let Gary Larsen like not do The Far Side when he decided he was done. Same with Bill Watterson with Calvin and Hobbes. The syndicates honored Bill Watterson's wishes to never merchandise Calvin and Hobbes. Every single piece of merchandise from Calvin and Hobbes that you see out in the world is a bootleg. And that astounds me. Like, because that's leaving cash on the table, right? And in our modern era, like, people don't do that.
that is friggin' crazy when you think about it, man.
Yeah.
Like everything is monetized.
Yeah.
By the way, join our Patreon, patreon.com/vintagerpg if you want to get early release episodes for as little as $1 a month. But you know what I mean? Like, everything is monetized within an inch of its life.
Right.
That's punk rock.
It's one of those things. And people genuinely, like, it's interesting to me that people genuinely don't understand why Larsen and Watterson kind of stopped and left and didn't do anything. Like, you constantly, there's people who do comics, like fan fiction comics, like continuing Calvin and Hobbes as like an adult. They're fine. They come from a place of like fandom, but like, it's so like you're missing the point. Like, it's not about those it's the cartoon. It's just, you can't do that. like some stuff you can't like, it just becomes saccharine and like a commentary on like the broader thing of parenthood or that new artist's take on it. And it's just like, it's not the same. And there's really clear reasons why he stopped. And same with Larsen. I mean, how do you do that for more than 15 years? How do you do it for 15?
You just run out of things to say sometimes, and you don't want to parody yourself, and you don't want to phone it in. Like, in the end of the day, like, I think, as much as, yes, like, I mean, yeah, you can get like a collected Calvin and Hobbes book, you can get collected Garfields and this and that. You can buy, the complete Doonesbury, but it becomes to a degree ephemera.
Yeah.
As it's being printed in the newspaper, because it's a newspaper, something you read once and then you chuck it in the garbage. We recycle now, folks. You recycle it. But for an artist and a creator, like, to have to be on, and of course everyone has off days, and some days it doesn't land right, but to have to really be on for 15 plus years, trying to put out like top quality stuff to keep yourself in syndication, to make a single Joker idea land week after week, knowing, like, because at some point you're hoping that they're gonna make a book, and you're hoping they're gonna compile everything, but like, you don't know. Like, you're putting your heart into something that will literally land and then be an afterthought and become ephemera. So like, I get it. Like, if you put all that into it, it's okay to walk away from something like that and like create something new, because I'm sure they didn't stop creating. Although I heard, as I'm reading through the Wikipedia and the internet, that Larsen got really into jazz after he left, and I'm like, you know what? That is so on brand for the Far Side.
Yeah. But Watterson's done, like, I think that Watterson did some painting, like, as a fine artist, has like shifted gears. He did a book recently that he wrote, which people I think hated, but I kind of loved. It was very bleak. He didn't make the art though. The art was really cool. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. Anyway, but what you were saying about the dailies, the dailiness of the strip format, I think is what kind of is the thing that I'm finding super interesting about it, because I perceive, like, you think of the 80s as, Dallas and New Wave and Wall Street and Ronald Reagan and like these things that have been codified as part of like the 80s aesthetic. But then there's stuff like Dungeons and Dragons and the Far Side that are in the mix in a way that's like less codified, but once you sort of immerse yourself in it, you're like, just, oh man, this was everywhere.
Yeah.
And part of that, I think, is like in some way that these strips are daily strips that were coming. It was some sort of filtration of Larsen's daily life throughout the 80s getting filtered onto the page. And there's something sort of just 80s-ish about it. And I think it's interesting because in reading through it, I've only read the first 2 years, 80 and 81. But there's a lot more monsters and adventurers and like science fiction elements than I remember. And all of that seems part of the greater sort of moment, like from like 77 to 83, 84, when like fantasy was having like that 80s moment, but filtered through Far Side. So everybody's squishy and there's more cows, right?
Yeah.
It's cool. And it's a different aesthetic take to see like his dragons and his knights and his monsters, which are stark black and white, very similar, to the what you would see in a monster manual or the later monstrous compendiums. And it's all part of this, it just blends together. And there's no real thing that I can't say that he's played Dungeons and Dragons or was even aware of it at the time. But I think that there is just a broader 80s aesthetic at play that gets lost in the way that we filter it through the nostalgic lens of like, pop-up video or whatever, how the 80s has been repackaged and repackaged again in the subsequent decades. You sort of get like this, like if you make a stamp and then you make a mold of that stamp and you keep making new molds of the stamp instead of recarving it or going back to the original, it gets smushy and like the details become less distinct over time. I think that something like that naturally happens. Like our view of the 50s at this point is like such an abstraction almost of what the 50s was probably like for somebody living day to day in it. And you can see that probably in a similar way if you read Peanuts. I think that Peanuts was started in the 50s, right?
Oh, I think it started like before that. I'm Googling it.
Oh, good. And I think that something similar is at play with the Far Side. Maybe less so for Calvin and Hobbes. I haven't revisited Calvin and Hobbes in a long time, but Calvin and Hobbes feels like it takes place more in a narrative and an internal Bill Watterson bubble than the way the Far Side does. Because the Far Side is constantly reaching for like weird corners of pop culture to sort of reference and exist within. So much of role-playing games is embedded in the 80s. And it's interesting, I think, to sort of look at these things, these parallel cultural phenomenons, and see how they kind of line up in weird ways. And I think that if you dig into the Far Side, you'll see that, and you can do it for the low price of $41.
No, that's not bad, actually.
Well, no, I mean, like list. So there's two. So the Far Side came back at some point. And the complete Far Side does not include the stuff that has happened since, I don't know, the original publication. It was 2003 or 2004. There's two versions of it. One is a gigantic hardcover, 2-volume hardcover in a slipcase. I have to say, they are incredibly heavy. They are maybe the heaviest books that I own. The paper stock is really heavy and dense and thick, and like they're beautiful books. They're really hard to read. I think I would bet that the box set is around 12 to 14 pounds.
Oh, that's a
whole
lot of paper.
You have to heave it. It's 4,000 strips at least, and yeah, that's the one that I bought, and I think that it is sort of a victim of its largeness. You can get it on eBay for between $40 and $50. It listed at $230, so like you there's deals to be had there. Same with the more recent softcover reprint. It breaks it into 3 soft covers in a slipcase, and apparently they use like a lighter paper. The whole thing is just a lot more manageable. But I like the design of the hardcovers more. The soft covers are wrapped in sort of like a cow print, a black and white cow print, which is really true to the spirit of the
so spot on.
Yeah, but it also reminds me of Gateway Computers too much.
Yeah, never get over that.
Which came in a cow box, which I feel like was maybe like leaning a little bit on the Far Side. I don't know. So I opted for the hardcovers. I think that's like 130, 150, something like that. But again, you can find them on eBay for cheaper, like 60, 70. Yeah, I almost paid more for shipping than until the seller was just like, oh, I could ship this media for like $8. It's like sold. So like I paid $50 for a $230 omnibus, and you can too.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I did see that book for almost like $10 at like Barnes and Nobles on their like, please take this rack. Because Barnes and Nobles has that like one section of the store. It's like, what do we really need to get rid of? And we're gonna just give it away. I will tell you though, one fun fact about these syndicated comics is we actually know the cartoonist who does Heathcliff.
What?
Yeah, you know Pete Gallagher?
Yeah.
He's the artist that does Heathcliff.
Really?
So Heathcliff was created in 1973 by his uncle, George Gately, right? Huh. It hugely popular comic. But in the late 90s, Peter took over and has been drawing Heathcliff since the late 1990s.
Wow.
Yeah. Heathcliff, New Jersey, representing. That's our cat. And if you are in... Listen, man, I love Garfield, but Heathcliff is our cat, New Jersey's cat.
Real quick, before you move on to non-cartoon cats, my friend Oren was pulled out. He like there's like the Garfield Halloween book with Garfield as like a pirate, and there's ghosts.
Oh, that's great.
And his theory, and I mean, it makes sense to me. His theory is that book is responsible for him thinking that there's ghosts in the fog or pirates. I don't know if that holds water. Jared, my kid,
That's
we
awesome.
watched The Fog over the weekend, and he also naturally, it was his natural inclination that because they had hooks and swords that they were pirates. So I don't know if Oren's theory does actually hold water, but I think it's an interesting one because when I saw the cover of that Garfield, I'm not a really big Garfield fan, but I do remember that book after I saw it, and I was just like, oh my gosh, ghost pirates in that comic. Maybe that's why I kind of want The Fog to be about pirates, but it isn't. Yeah,
Chip
so
Davis got everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you are near Asbury Park until November 22nd at the Art Spot, there's a Peter Gallagher Monster Beach exhibit, which is all Heathcliff stuff.
Oh,
which
amazing.
Is super friggin' cool. I've been meaning to get down there myself, but it was very much one of those, like, I'd known Pete for a very long time. I know Pete from the bar. And then one day I was like, what the hell? What do you actually do? And he's like, I draw Heathcliff. And I was like, bullshit. And he was like, no. And he told me, he's like, my uncle created Heathcliff. And I was like, holy shit. And I was like, he was like, I like your band and all, but man, you're famous. Pete's a good dude, man. And Heathcliff is still great. They're still putting out great content for Heathcliff. And you can actually follow along Heathcliff's adventures. They post them on Instagram now. So
wow, there you go. That's crazy.
What a small world. New Jersey, greatest state on the planet.
It really is. It's the best state. Everything good comes out of New Jersey. Some bad stuff comes out of New Jersey too, but we just don't talk about that.
We just don't talk about that. That's fine.
Accentuate the positive.
Exactly. You gotta focus on the positive. You got any final thoughts on these Far Side comics?
I don't think that I'm pretty sure that Gary Larsen is not from New Jersey, and that's sad.
It would make more sense if you was.
It would actually make like I feel like and probably to the strip's overall sorrow. I think that if the Far Side made more sense, it would be less awesome. But it would make more sense if he was from New Jersey. So good thing he's not.
Yeah. Oh my God. It would be so like, yeah, I can only imagine the strips that would come out. So as we wrap up the episode, Hambone's crowdfunding corner, still workshopping that, but Mouse Order Month is happening right now. There's a lot of cool projects going on for Mouse Order Month. And I really do love the concept that Backer Kit is doing when they do like a Mothership Month. Now it's Mouse Order Month. So a couple things worth noting. My buddy Brett, who plays in my 1/900 fantasy game with Faylight Studios, they put out Hell in a Hogwater. It is a wartime adventure setting featuring two mouse communities facing an invasion from a cabal of carnivores. This top secret folio will include mission pamphlets, maps, and a field guide detailing the setting, factions, creatures, and more. It's fully funded right now. It's rocking until December 6th, and it is conceptually super awesome.
He's been posting art for it in the Discord periodically for like the last couple months, and it's just absolutely gorgeous.
So fucking good. And it's so interesting, like, you know, because it's Mouse Rider, like, you know, there's the mouse got the gun over his shoulder. I'm like, how are they making that play? And they have such a very clever way to make guns happen in this wartime thing. They're called STAPs, Spell Tablet Amplification Pipes. I can't really get too deep into it. Just go to the Backer Kit and check it out. Pick up this project. It's super, super cool. You can get in on the enlisted tier. This is how they did it. This is great. For $18, it's digital level. Officer for $32 puts you at a physical level. And if you just want to donate to the cause, you can buy a war bond for $1. It's so clever, like it hurts. But Brett, good on you. Congrats on funding. Definitely check this out. The other thing for my dear friends Joy Royale and Tiger Wizard, Tales from the Night Market, which is TAILS. Since the night market opened a month ago, Mike's folk have traveled from miles around to revel in culinary delights and exotic entertainment. Everybody wants a paw in on the action, and it all comes with a cost. You know, if you love all the Fairhaven stuff that Joey's done, if you're in any way tangentially familiar with the work of Tiger Wizard, which is, as an artist and creator, prolific, this is very, very cool. The artwork on this is pretty outstanding. There is a little mouse meeple for this game that is it's a little mouse in a crystal ball wearing a fez, and it's hand painted. It's beautiful. It's just crossing off boxes for me. It's also funded. It's also going to be rocking till December 6th. And now I think that everyone's rocking till December 6th. But it's just such a clever and different concept than you would expect for, you know, basic kind of Mouse Rider ideas. Come see the tattooed mouse make the art in his skin come alive. Peer into the future through the sparkle of Madame Buffon's famous crystal ball. Soak in the raucous and ripe pleasures of the area's only fermentation garden. It's pretty cool. It comes with 3 adventure booklets, 3 adventure brochures, item sheet map brochure as well. Just very, very cool stuff by 2 absolutely stellar dudes and incredible creators. So Tales from the Night Market, Hell in a Hogwater on Backer Kit right now for Mouse Order Month. Definitely go check those out. So that's it. It's another amazing episode of the Vintage RPG Podcast. Stu, where can people find you on the internets?
They can find me on vintagerpg.com. Don't expect to see the Far Side on posted anytime soon. I mean, I guess I could in 2027.
I mean, when you run out of stuff to write about, sure.
Yeah, we'll turn into a comic book comic book feed or something.
2027, the crap that's left over.
Just taking pictures of all my books now.
Yeah. Here's Moby Dick.
God.
Oh, yeah, you can find me across the internet at John McGuire RPG, Twitter, Blue Sky, thank everybody. I want to say thank you to everyone who backed Under the Shadow of the Noonday Witch. We succeeded. We funded. We got a really killer book coming. I just saw the hardcover cover illustration, and it's outstanding. So we're really excited to bring that out to you all. If you like the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. Your reviews will lead to help other listeners to find us. And if you really like the show, why not become a patron? Patreon.com/vintagerpg. We get a behind-the-scenes look at the stuff that Stu's working on. We have a absolutely killer Discord community that we're constantly pulling cool stuff out of that we'd love for you to be a part of. It truly is an oasis from the world outside your door. At the $5 tier, you can get in on a game a month with me. I run different games every month, and I've been running an ongoing 1-900 fantasy campaign. It's a play-by-email campaign. It's pretty cool. Usually resolves each essentially round every week and a half, because everyone's got to get in their stuff. But it's starting to get real deadly, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. At the $10 tier, you can get in on that and in Stu's absolutely deadly, long-running West Marches campaign, which is it's so cool. It's been going on for 3 years now. And Mondays, are you still doing your watch along with Millennium?
Yeah, we are. Boy, what a cheerful show. Really, it's truly a mistake on my part.
yeah. I mean, it could be worse. It could be The Wire. So
yeah.
Although that has nothing to do with RPGs per se.
Every week we could just watch Syriana over and over and over again. That would be
God.
Talk about bleak. No, it's fun. We're getting there. We're getting to the point where we're going to start seeing like the conspiracy theories and the demons and stuff. So.
And we probably have to bring some of the people on here to talk about the end of season 1. do season recaps of Millennium. Yeah, actually.
I'm not against it.
Look at me with the good ideas before my second cup of coffee. Patreon.com/vintagerpg. So for Stu Horvath, I'm John Hambone McGuire. May the dice always roll in your favor. Take care. Thanks for listening. The Vintage RPG Podcast is a ham-fisted production. Music by Dead Go West. Art by Schaefer Brown. Edited by R. Alex Murray. Check us out at vintagerpg.com.